like, I think business owners that are willing to roll up their sleeves right now and do what they have to generate revenue for their businesses, because business has never been tougher, in my opinion.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by 10X Nerds. If you're a business owner doing real revenue, there's a good chance you're overpaying in areas you haven't even looked at. Things like credit card processing, insurance, telecom, and more. 10X Nerds comes in, audits your expenses across 30 plus categories, and finds immediate savings. And here's the kicker: they only get paid if they save you money. It's a complete no-brainer. If you want to keep more of what you make, go check them out at 10xnerds.com. This episode is brought to you by Rakowski Law Firm. If you're a business owner or have built a level of wealth, but you don't have your estate plan dialed in, you're exposed. Rakowski Law Firm helps families and business owners protect their assets, avoid probate, and make sure everything transfers exactly how it should. This isn't just paperwork, it's a real strategy to protect your legacy. If you haven't looked at your plan in a while or don't have one, go to rakowskilawfirm.com. This episode is brought to you by Blue Collar Business Advisors. If you're running an HVAC, plumbing, electrical, or landscaping, or any other type of home service business and wondering where all the money is going despite growing your revenue, you need to talk to Paul Maskill. Paul has scaled and sold multiple blue-collar businesses and now helps business owners improve cash flow, profitability, and financial clarity through outsourced CFO services. His clients gain a better understanding of their numbers, build predictable profits, and create a business that supports the life they actually want. One of the things I appreciate most about Paul is he's not just a finance guy. He's been in the trenches as an owner. He understands the challenges of running blue-collar businesses because he's done it himself. If you're doing a few $1 million a year in revenue and want to stop guessing at your numbers and start building real wealth, head over to bluecollaradvisors.com. That's thebluecollaradvisors.com and schedule a discovery call with Paul and his team. Blue Collar Business Advisors, helping blue-collar business owners build financially healthy companies and achieve permanent profitability. This episode is brought to you by Corberry Digital. If you own an HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing, or home service business and you're tired of wondering where your next lead is coming from, you need to check out Corberry Digital. Corberry specializes exclusively in helping home service companies dominate their local markets through SEO, Google Ads, local service ads, websites, content marketing, and lead generation systems that actually produce a measurable ROI. Their team doesn't just focus on clicks and impressions, they help contractors lower customer acquisition costs, increase qualified leads, and build a marketing engine that scales. What I like about Corberry is they understand the blue-collar space. They aren't trying to be everything to everyone. Their entire focus is helping trades businesses win in their backyard and generate more profitable jobs. If you're looking to grow your business, improve your online visibility, and build a marketing system that works, visit Corberry.com and schedule a strategy session with their team. That's Corberry.com. Tell them you heard about them on the podcast. This episode is brought to you by my friend Silas Lagoy over at ForgeMark Wealth. If you're a high-income business owner or professional and feel like you're getting crushed by taxes, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not stuck. ForgeMark Wealth specializes in advanced legal tax strategies and wealth planning designed to help you keep more of what you make, grow it efficiently, and actually build long-term freedom, not just income. If you're making serious money but don't have a real strategy behind it yet, I highly recommend connecting with Silas and his team. What's up, everybody? This episode is sponsored by ExitWise. If you're a business owner thinking about selling your company, whether that's now or years down the road, you need to know what your business is actually worth and how to maximize that exit. That's exactly what ExitWise does. They help you prepare, position, and ultimately sell your business by assembling a world-class team of M&A experts around you, guiding you from valuation all the way through closing. If you want to know what your business is really worth and how to increase that number before you sell, go check out exitwise.com and get ahead of it. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm joined by Ryan Lucia, who is a serial guy, and I just found out also has gone to seminary. So I'm excited to pick his brain on business and ministry in the marketplace. He's got Aaron overhead doors, perimeter garage door repair, phantom screens. He's got 5 companies, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm excited to hear about all of them. Ryan, man, serial guy and a seminary guy. Tell us a little bit of your story.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to keep it quick because I don't think anybody wants to hear the whole thing. But, high school dropout, got into drugs and all the stuff that comes along with party life. And drugs, violence. I was a drug dealer. Actually, that's kind of like where I got my feet wet with running a business. After about a year and a half, I actually just posted a reel on Instagram about this, but I got to the point where I was able to not have to handle the drugs, just the recreational stuff, and then have all the money. And I didn't even know what I was doing, but I was 17, 18 years old. So fast forward, like I was a failure pretty much a lot of my life, especially in school environment. Got into automotive sales, excelled there, and because I was making so much money, and it was like, not as good as the drug money, but it was still very good, and it was legal, and I wasn't having to look over my shoulder all the time. I loved it, but the trade off was I had to give up just about every area of my life, and so I ventured out into B2B with an attempt. I was told that I could make the same or more doing that and working less, because a lot of the clients that we were going to be selling to didn't want to be contacted on the weekend. So I went into B2B, hit my ceiling at the company I was at for about 9 months, and then got recruited to a software startup. So went there, and about 6 years later, they sold the company for $65 million. And I wanted to do something completely different. And I was talking to a buddy of mine out in California, and he said, I was about to start a marketing agency, because that was my background, was like sales and marketing. And I've been doing like web design, SEO, and like hacks and stuff since AOL chat rooms when I was 18, 19 years old. And so he was like, well, you should start a garage door company. And I'm like, why would I even do that? I don't even know anything about tools. I don't know anything about garage doors. And he's like, fly out here, I'll train you. So I flew out to California, trained with him for a week, came back, launched the company. And that was the worst idea ever, but I made the best of it. My wife was not on board for a long time. We had 2 young children. Here I am, 34 years old, and house, cars, comfortable living. I was making great money, and we went from making almost like $250,000 a year to $250 a week, and it was a lifestyle shift. But we were looking for freedom. You see memes on Instagram and stuff where it's like, I gave up a 40-hour work week for freedom, and now I get to choose to work 140 hours a week or something like that. It's really funny. But that's kind of what ended up happening. And so I started the Garage Door Company as a one-man show, knowing very little. Shout out to Larry in California for always taking my FaceTime calls at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning in California time. But yeah, that's how I got into garage doors. And now we're 30 employees. And, you know, uh, there's seasons where I have to be in the business, and there's seasons where I don't have to be as involved, but it's up and down, no pun intended.
So I always ask this to the serial guys, which of your businesses takes up most of your brain space every day? Like, what's the one that you're currently most focused on? Because you have 5 of them.
The home services takes up most of my mental capacity. It's stressful. Like you like last month we sold $1 million. Like, and then happy May 1st. And you guys start all over at zero again, right? Like and a lot has to go right in order for you to sell $1 million in a month. So for me, I'm just trying to, you know, figure out how do we do what we do and make it look a little bit easier and have that consistency. When you think about consistency, a lot of people think of like seasonal, but it's just been so much chaos in America for like the past 5 or 6 years. And I used to be able to like look at trends over the last 4 years and tell you exactly how things were going to look, whether it was going to be busy this season or slow this season or whatever. It was very predictable. We're no longer predictable. We're no longer in a predictable market. And so for that reason, I would say that the home service businesses definitely are the ones that like take up the most mental capacity.
Mm-hmm. So out of curiosity, we had Tommy Mello on the show, which was, kind of cool. Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe my eyes weren't open to the potential of garage doors. It's not something I think about, but the more I understand it, I get it. What's that been like? You have, it looks like a couple different ventures that are related to garage doors specifically. Like, what has been your experience and what have been some of the biggest challenges?
Well, starting out was like learning the names of my tools. I think that was a good start. It's hard to recruit people when you're like asking, talking to them and you don't even know the names of your tools. Um, so being a white collar guy transitioning to a blue collar world and nobody knowing who you are, they don't want to give you a chance to work for you. So that was an early obstacle. And then once I overcame that and really, I think kind of proved myself in the industry, we started getting people to work with us. And then I was trying to scale the company like a software company, which you cannot do, right? Like if we're scaling at, 50, 60% year over year, I can find people in software. That's not a problem. Like we just recruit like hell. A million times more complicated to scale up a home service business because recruiting is the pool is smaller and you got workers comp, general liability, and then like people will promise that they know everything they get in and they don't know half of what they told you they knew. And then, do they do it your way? Like I just had an interview the other day where he's like, I pride myself on doing it the right way. Well, how do you even know that you're doing it the right way? Right? Like what defines right? And so for us, we use a third party company to do like certifications
What's
for us.
what? Oh, okay. If you were going to put me on some game with a recruiting agency, I've been looking for a good blue collar recruiting firm. So if you had one, I'd be open
Yeah,
to
I
it.
do have one we've been using and it's worked out really well. Matter of fact, I just had a major disruption and transition. As someone who's a grinder, I'm a visionary, but I can be an integrator. I just don't enjoy it. But I lost one of my integrators and we parted ways, and so I jumped into the business and started running it. And it was 18-hour days for 6 months. I had to go to my wife and be like, look, this is gonna be a tough season. I'm diving back in. And I gave up, my health. I gave up time with family. I sacrificed
Mm,
a lot, stress. Um, I gained like 30 pounds in 6 months, which is
mm.
horrible. But I did what I felt like I had to do in order to get to a place where the company was right. And then I wanted to hire an integrator. And so I actually found my integrator through a blue collar um, uh, recruiting agency. It's not really a recruiting agency, but they just have a really good system. But they list the jobs. I think it's like contractors resource. If you want the information, I can give it to you after or
Yeah,
now, whatever.
I'm open to it because it comes up a lot, as you can imagine.
Yeah, these guys have helped us find so many new people because we're promoting a lot. Contractors staffing source. Contractor staffing source. Tell them Ryan sent you so I can get some like referral or something because
Yeah, you got it.
we're using them a ton.
Well, what's going really well with your business right now, Ryan? And what are some big challenges you guys are facing?
What's going really well is, we just came off $1 million sales month. That was our first one. That's a huge milestone that we've been trying to reach for quite some time. And my new integrator, I would say he's doing well. We obviously butt heads on some things. We don't see everything eye to eye, but I love how he's like a get it done type of person. And I think what's not working really well is like sometimes he'll ask me something and I'm traveling or on vacation or whatever, and I'll get back to him quick enough. He just does it. He's not going to wait. And so part of me loves that because that's kind of how I was when I was an employee. And the other part of me is like, bro, I want to strangle you, right? Because I want to be part of some of these decisions. And so the results are he's spending way more time with my people and listening and asking questions and talking about performance and expectations on a weekly basis. That I think like that is so critical when you have inspired people that feel appreciated and listened and heard. It's almost like that's if you just had that alone, you're probably going to be successful and see growth. If you have uninspired people, your bottom line is going to be probably the first thing affected.
Amen. Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah. I mean, Bible says without vision the people perish. How do you do it? What's the key?
I think as a visionary, it's important to remember that people forget your vision. And so repeating it and connecting with those people as much as humanly possible, I think is key. You know, most visionaries have the gift of gab, and showing up, showing face, giving hugs, I think matters. You don't have to be there every day, but I do believe that like you need to show up and have some level of consistency, whether that's once a week or a couple times a week. Unfortunately, because I have so many different things going on, like I'm not in the office a lot, but we do things like after work or whatever, and I try to do my best with that. But also have 2 kids in sports, and um, you said what's one of the challenges? This is one of the challenges, right? Like I have habitually started things, not necessarily out of need, but out of want, and so now there are times where I feel like I'm captive to all the decisions I made, right? I could complain about it, but nobody would care to listen. My problems are problems that people probably beg for. But just be careful what you ask for, right? Because the weight is heavy. You think running one business is tough, try running 5. And then also having 2 kids playing highly competitive sports where, one starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and then, another one starts at 6, but it's an hour away. And so there's a lot of complications and challenges that are involved in that. And then, anytime you own multiple businesses, it's like banks get confused, your phone companies get confused, everybody's confused. Like, you know, things that should be very simple end up having to take hours of time to accomplish because everybody's like, which account is this for? And like, it's just the world's not built for someone who has a bunch of different accounts or a bunch of different businesses. It's just not.
Yeah.
You break the system for everything.
You were mentioning just it sounds like just the visionary a lot of times has ideas. My mentors always used to say God's yes and his go come at 2 different times. I've been so guilty of starting something and I'm like, wait a sec, I didn't really count the cost on that one. This is going to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And so, man, I'm right there with you. And I'm in a season right now where it's like, I have these businesses. I need to be faithful. I need to put my head down and sell. I have all these ideas. I want to rebrand. And man, like at the moment, anything beyond me selling something, showing up with, full like heart and confidence for my family, I can't do it. So like one no is 1,000 yeses, and so
Well, I
I
will
get
say
that.
on that point, I don't think you're alone in that, right? And
Yeah.
I don't forgive me, but I don't even really know what you do. Like I got your invite, and I don't even know why I accepted. I get probably like 5 invites a week um for a podcast, and
Well,
I haven't done.
you probably said, well, man, this guy's really handsome and it seems like a charming guy, and
I didn't even know
I
what you
might.
looked like, to be honest with you. Like I don't know. My assistant was like, "Hey, you got another invite for a podcast?" Like, and I was like, "What is it?" And she's like, "Builder's Bible." And I was like, "Is it faith based?" She's like, "I don't know." I was like, "Just book it." And so this is like the first time I've been a guest on a podcast in over a year, I believe. But
Wow.
I get so many invites, and so for whatever reason, I'm here. Maybe it's a kingdom connection. I have no clue. But what I'll tell you is like I think I'm talking to a ton of business owners. I have a mastermind group, and we're all in the same boat. Like what you're doing right now is the same thing I'm doing. I'm selling. We just rebranded 2 businesses. I've done 3 in the last like 3 years, but it's never been tougher. And you can count on salespeople. Like we've hired a bunch of salespeople for all my businesses lately. And then, but even me, like I preach lead intake process and, just having a really good process and system for that. But like I wasn't involved in the day to day, and my own business was blowing through leads and not following up and all this stuff. And it showed in the sales numbers. So when I stepped back in, that was like the very first thing I needed to fix because I had salespeople frustrated and angry. They weren't getting enough opportunities and complaining about marketing. And when I was looking at the marketing, I'm like, marketing's crushing it. Obviously something's happening. So we looked at closing ratio, we looked at conversions of lead to book rate. But like I think business owners that are willing to roll up their sleeves right now and do what they have to generate revenue for their businesses, because business has never been tougher, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that those are the people that are going to win. And there's seasons where we got to roll up our sleeves and get in the trenches with the team and do whatever. And that may mean too, like it could look very different for you and me. Like I'm working here at home. This is a studio I built out. If I go into the office, I'm not going to get much done, right? And plus, like all this stuff starts floating up to me. And so it's better and I get more accomplished here than I can going into the office, but I know I need to go in and spend time with people and attend meetings in person as well. So, kudos to you for, saying, "Hey, listen, this is grind time." And, I think if you can communicate that to your family, and you also said you prioritize them as well. And then one knows a thousand yeses to things that are more important. Like that's the key. I think a lot of business owners also like, we want to say yes. We're intrigued, we're curious, and sometimes we use a yes to like an opportunity to bail ourselves out of our current situation, which in some cases we just need to be there and go through the tough time. So kudos to you, bro.
Well, yeah, it's the Lord has had me on a journey, dude. I mean, literally had 2 years ago my suicide planned out, and the way He got a hold of me and saved me, plugged me into this thing called Rise Up Kings, which has changed my life and saved my marriage. So yeah, dude, I'm so here's where I'm at. I'm so grateful that I dropped out of seminary because now I'm in the marketplace and I'm like, I can do way more ministry here than I ever could behind a pulpit, you know? And so that's my mission. Well, man, tell like what, I'd love to wrap, like, what are some things you're seeing, maybe like on the AI side of things? I always like to check in how people are using it and integrate it. What are you doing with AI in your businesses?
Yeah. So before I get to that, because I love AI, I could probably go on for days
Look,
about it. But
we
do you mind if I just share something or along the lines of what you were talking about?
Yeah, please. Yeah, anything,
I don't think
please.
entrepreneurs get on that level very much. So thank you for your vulnerability and trusting me and your audience about the suicide thing. A couple months ago, I started going to therapy, and it was recommended because we were in therapy with my daughter, and the therapist was like, "How does that make you feel?" And it was a really tough situation, and I was like, "I don't really feel anything." And she's like, "You don't feel anything?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm like, "We just need to get to work and get things done." And she's like, "Okay, so you don't feel this?" And I'm like, "No, I don't feel that." She's like, "You don't feel this way?" And I'm like, "I don't feel that either." And it almost felt like I almost felt bad for not feeling. But then I left that room and she's like, "Hey," she pulled me aside and she's like, "I really think you need to get therapy." And I was like, is there something wrong? Like, whatever. And she's like, "No." She goes, "My husband's, he's a therapist. He'd probably be really good for you." So I started going to see him. And by the way, like, if you're a business owner, like, people say it's lonely because we have to be very careful who we talk to, and we got to be very careful about, what we say. But I went into this with open mind, and what we came to realize is that I've been in survival mode almost my entire life with very few people I can trust fully. And there was a period of time, like probably a week, where I started like feeling things, and I was like, "Man, no." I started suppressing it. I just felt the Lord be like, "Give in, just let go." And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that. It's not a good time. Like, I need to be focused. Like, I know if I try to start dealing with all these emotions right now, it's not going to be good. And then things aren't going to, like, I need to stay focused." And so it broke. The dam broke. Like, I couldn't even hold it. And now, like, this is probably the fifth or sixth week. And there's not been a week that goes by where I think, like, at least once or twice a day, and this is just getting vulnerable, where I just break out and cry, like for just rant. Like I can be in a conversation
Mm,
with somebody. It could be about ice cream. Like we see somebody talking about something very happy and I'll just cry because I'll be thinking about how grateful I
yeah.
am for ice cream, like, or whatever. And I'm not even big ice cream. It's just using an example, but I'm overwhelmed with like emotion. It's just like a flood coming in every single day. So much so to where I'm nauseous, like it's affecting me physically. And so I like just recently was able to express how I feel because all the way up until this last session, all I could tell him was, "It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. I can't do this. I can't do this. It's too much. It's got to quiet. It's got to stop." And finally, it got to a point where I was able to express it, and I was talking to him, and I realized through telling him all of the things that I was feeling that it literally correlated with things that I had gone through as a young kid, which was like a lot of tragic and horrible things. And so he's asking me to just sit in that and process and take a step back and like evaluate and just go through it with the Lord and like pray. And so now all I do almost every single day is listen to worship music, pray, read the Bible, cry, talk to people, talk to my team, reply to emails, whatever. And so, but I've almost been no good for like 3 or 4 weeks. Like it's been a lot. And so, when you're going through that journey as a business owner, like we stuff and, it's easier if we don't feel it. And, we got to be the tough guy. We got to be the tough girl, running the business. I think there's got to be a time where that's got to catch up to you. And, I just turned 47 yesterday and it is caught up to me. And so, processing all like those feelings and, actually trying to be a human instead of a robot, I think is, it's difficult. It's hard. I don't recommend it, but I do at the same time. Like I feel alive. I feel great. And, so I think that resonates with a lot of business owners that I've been talking to lately. So I just wanted to share that and also say that.
No, I appreciate that, dude. I'm so grateful for, if it wasn't for my business owner connections and Rise of Kings and the power of that vulnerability, I don't know where I would be. And it's so interesting to me. Like you and I can talk about stuff like some of the, my wife and I, we're trying to dig out of some debt that I got us into. And when I share this with like a non-business owner, they're like, their minds explode. But when I share it with a business owner, like, yeah, I mean, I've been bankrupt. I was, like every business owner I know has done something crazy, right? At some point to keep their business afloat, to keep their marriage alive. And it's just these dudes operate at a different level. And so, yeah, I'm so grateful for the connection I have with other Christian business owners, man. Like, feel free to brag on your businesses in any way, shape, or form. I'd be curious to know how you guys are implementing AI on that
Yeah.
note.
So AI. So I'm a tech nerd, right? So I remember my dad dropping me off at Circuit City when I was like 8 years old or whatever, and he would just go shopping or whatever. And that was, I guess, when you could do that. But I would hang out in Circuit City and play on the computer. And then, he became a computer programmer. And then, as soon as computers were like a thing where you had them at home, I had one and chased the mailbox for the AOL free internet access. And so I'm a big believer. I love AI. I think a lot of people demonize it, especially in the Christian community. I think that, just like money, people misinterpret the verse that money is the root of all evil. It's not. It's your heart around money and how you view it. And so same thing with AI, right? Like AI can be used for good and AI can be used for bad. And so I've been on the forefront. We've been playing with AI for about 3 years now. And so we've built so many different things. We're in an AI mastermind. We're building AI for, we've had AI in both my marketing agency and my garage door company. But we're working on so many things. The advancement of stuff has just been so fast that like as you build, it's almost outdated in some cases. And so now we're building like master agents that spin up sub agents, and we're doing it in a way where it can scale and learn, and more on the agentic side than like just a standard LLM that you train. So there's some liability to that for sure, but I think we're right now our main focus is safety and security. Like how do we give something that has a little bit of its own brain to learn and adapt and create and spend your money? How do you give something like that guardrails and still allow it to be effective and
Yeah.
not get hacked? And so a couple ways that we've done it is, I have a marketing agency. We've been writing content since 2019. Like we've taken all that content and been able to like feed it into an agent. And now that agent can pump out very human like content, which is great. So it's my thing is like how do we save 10% of create 10% efficiency in everything that we do in every department that we do it in. And then once we get there, like how do we get to 20? How do we get to 30? How do we get to 40? How do we get to 50? And sometimes it's not AI. Sometimes it's just simple automations. I think a lot of times we try to use AI too much. So, but AI definitely, you know, I've seen companies try to go all in on it. I think that's a huge mistake. I think we still need humans, especially on the front end of things. But I think that we're like the days of the inefficiency of humans are coming to a real place where I think consumers are more willing to talk to a robot if they can get the information faster and more reliably. It's better to call and have an answer. Like I called a spa for my daughter's birthday, trying to get just find out how much service was because they didn't have it on the website. And I had the answer within like 20 seconds talking to AI, where that would have never happened with a human. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, it's great, man. I just, so I started an AI. You asked what I did. One of the things I did is I started an AI agency, and God told me to create freedom for business owners. I believe AI is just a tool to create freedom. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
scary. No one has to get
for
fired,
sure.
right? And at the end of the day, like especially in service-based businesses, people want to talk to a human, right? But you can leverage your humans 10x. So who wouldn't want to turn their best sales guy into 10 sales guys? Like that makes total sense to me. And so my executive assistant in the Philippines, she's since started, I basically was like, in the next 2 weeks, I want you to be an expert on Claude Cowork. She has become 10 executive assistants. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like why wouldn't you want to do that? And also the beauty is as I grow and scale, I don't need to hire more people to do administrative stuff, right? I don't need to hire more people to have this bloat in my company. I can make a more competitive offer for the skilled guy that can swing a hammer. And that is the challenge for all of the blue collar guys, right? You need more cash flow and resources to keep those guys around and create an environment where they want to stay, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. When I first got into OpenClaw and I started chatting with it through, Messenger app, um, like blew my mind. Like I didn't like you're talking about fast forwarding in a massive way. That was the aha moment where I was like, okay, we're no longer playing in a sandbox. This thing is on steroids. And it's like hey, I need you to learn this, and then I need you to execute this, and then you go into the back end and you put in your keys, and it's like now you just have something that monitors your email 24/7 and does it
Yeah.
better than just about any human.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Pretty
love
special.
that. What's something we haven't talked about today that gets you fired up? Could be marketplace ministry. It could be something you learned in seminary. It could be anything and everything under the sun.
Parenthood, I would say, is probably the thing that fires me up the most. I love my kids, and I love pushing them like to be great
Yeah.
and challenging them. And as a parent, just trying to find that balance between like not pushing them too hard, but pushing them hard enough. Um, you watch like these documentaries of like Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and all these, and some of the greatest people, athletes in the world, will tell you that they didn't want to go to practice sometimes, and their parents pushed them, or they didn't want to train, or they didn't want to do this or whatever, and their parents pushed them. And so, what we do is we have our kids set goals, and then instead of us pushing them when they don't want to do it, we just ask them if they want to change their goals. Like, um, this is what it takes. Is your goal still the same? And they're like, yeah. We're like, well, then you got to do what you got to do to get there, right? Even on the days that you don't want to. And so you
Yeah.
try to give them the opportunity to make the decision. But I'm very passionate about my kids and their athletics and their schoolwork and their relationship with Christ. And my daughter's about to go on our first mission trip, which I'm super excited about. And we named her Evangeline because we knew when she was in the womb that she was going to go out and spread the word to the world.
Mm.
And so super excited about that. This is the first time.
All my kids are named after beers
That's
instead of the
awesome.
biblical. Yeah. Instead of the biblical names, I have the beer. Everybody thinks I drink a lot. I'm like, actually, we don't even drink. We just noticed a trend after the first two, so we wanted to keep it going.
That's hilarious. So we got
Yeah.
Amstel, we got Budweiser, we got Blue Moon. What do we got?
Well, Milwaukee's Best is my favorite child. So yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, man, it's been such an honor talking with you. I can tell we're going to be buddies, and we're going to figure out a
Yeah,
way
for sure.
to work together. What anything else that we haven't talked about today that gets you fired up? We talked about parenthood, marketplace ministry. We talked about a lot of good stuff.
I mean, my question, like, the only question that I would probably have, or the only thing I want to talk about would be, um, like I think I know the answer, but you said that you were struggling with suicide 2 years ago, and then now you're in the
Yeah.
grind, and sounds like you had to make some tough decisions, and you're going through a lot. Like, um, you feel like you have clarity, and you're in a good place now.
I'm digging myself out of some stuff. Yeah, I racked up some consumer debt after I shut down my first business. My first business is what led me to a mental breakdown. It's crazy. So God told me to create freedom for business owners because I was stuck inside of a business that I hated. And I was so afraid I couldn't get off the hamster wheel. I was like, if I don't run this workshop, I'm going to be out of business in 3 or 4 months. And it was all fear, dude. The devil is a liar.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm so grateful because I literally had to have people from my community group from church kidnap me and take me to a mental health clinic. And I was so trapped in lies in my mind and in my spirit. And so, yeah, 2 years out of it now. And a huge part of it has been thanks to Rise Up Kings, which I believe is they're doing truly kingdom shaping, earth shattering, soul, warrior stuff. It's such a powerful thing. Yeah, 100%, man. I believe God is calling me to plant churches in the marketplace. And so I'm so grateful that I dropped out of seminary and started businesses so I can actually do the ministry I believe God has called me to do, which is win souls for Jesus. And it's interesting to me, Ryan, as I talked to hundreds of guys in these blue collar shops. I mean, my ideal guy is not the guy in his truck. He owns the trucks. And I go and visit with them in their HVAC shop, their electrical shop, like the home services. Those are my people. And I'm like, bro, you got a church right here. You don't need an MDiv. You just need to believe you're a spiritual leader. You need to get out of your sin. You need to save your marriage, and you need to become the spiritual leader God created you to do. And you can be baptizing people. You can be leading worship services in here.
Yeah.
That's where I believe the next movement of God is going to be. It is not going to be inside the four walls of the traditional church. And in fact, I have a lot of thoughts around that, but I just believe that model is just failing so badly,
Yeah.
that we have got to start launching missional organic churches in coffee shops and in bars. And I believe the kingdom of God is this kind of thing that it gets out of control. It sprawls like freaking
Right.
kudzu, and we've got to get back to that fire, and I think a lot of the business owners in the marketplace are the apostolic guys, apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, teachers. They're out in the marketplace. They're starting businesses, and they
Yeah.
just need to be awakened to spiritual
Yeah.
realities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you had mentioned that group that you're part of. I'd love to learn more about that. But I got hooked up with a group called Iron Forums through my therapist. And it's a bunch of they have like a female and a male version. And so I meet up with all the males. But I can honestly tell you just from my childhood growing up, I didn't have healthy relationships with men, right? Like it was just, it wasn't, I didn't have healthy relationships with women either, but I was obviously attracted to women. So, I spent most of my time with them, and being in Iron Forums has been one of those situations where it's like, I feel safe. And these guys are like, majority of them are like older than me, more successful than me, and, in a better place than me. And so when I go and I sit down with them, every meeting we have to have a form filled out where we got to rate our marriage, we got to rate our parenting, rate our life, rate our health, rate your intimacy with the Lord. And so like you fill this form out, right? There's no hiding. Like there's no hiding when you go in there because you got this form. You want to be honest with it, right? So you go in there and you're like, I'm a 4 with my marriage. And like they don't just let you go on to the next one. They're like, okay, we have 3 hours and there's like 3 or 4 of you and you're going down this list. And their job, like I didn't know this because it was my first time, but their job was like they literally like they'll sit right there on the floor for an hour and they're like, tell us about your marriage. When was it a 10? When was it an 8? Like how did you get to a 4? what can you do today to improve?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
how
pretty
can you,
extreme accountability right there. Yeah, you're on
for real,
the gospel
bro?
hot seat. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gospel hot speed for real. And so like I'm sitting there and I'm getting pegged with all these questions, but I love it. Like I love that. Like I love the accountability. I love the challenges. You know, I used to be friends with someone who I went to church with, and he would always come up to me every Sunday and he'd be like, "Brother, I love you, man. How's your walk with Christ?" And just knowing that I was going to be asked that every single Sunday, it felt good. Like it's just, I don't think we ask each other enough. Like we might say, "How you doing?" Whatever, but like, no, how is your relationship with Jesus this week? Right?
Yeah.
Are you moving forward? Have you slid back? Are you, yeah, and those are questions that men just don't ask a lot. So when you're in this group and you're asking, and then they're like, "Let me pray for you," and then we're praying for my wife, and we're praying for our relationship, and whatever. And I was just using an example, but um, it's powerful. And I think more men in the marketplace are getting there. I'm seeing this trend where men are stepping up, including myself, and being better leaders. And some of that comes with healing and things that we've dealt with, and perception of what reality is supposed to be like for businessmen or entrepreneurs or just being men. We're supposed to be, tough and have this hard exterior. Everybody's on social media talking about, how gangster they are and whatever, and like how tough they are. I mean, that's great. I think that's awesome and good for you. But in reality, like there's gonna be a day where you break and you're crying in your closet and your wife's rubbing your back trying to encourage you, right? Like you're not like that forever, and you're not like that really genuinely a lot. I think the reality is that we want to put off this perception that we're tough because that's the way we were raised, especially our generation. I don't know how old you are. I'm 47. When I was a kid, like I had to be tough, just the environment that I grew up in. And so that portrays, and then I would have people come over to the house, like my daughter's friends would leave, and my daughter would be like, "Oh, my friends are scared of you." I'm like, "Why would they be scared of me?" I joke around, like whatever. But I was projecting, I think, this cold, hard uh, personality, and it scared people. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the thing that you're doing with the guys or the mastermind group, and I'd love to learn more with that. But I think more men should be involved in that stuff for sure.
Yeah. I love it. Ryan, man, we could probably do another episode around some other stuff. Where can people go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I can be found pretty easily. I'm pretty active on social media, so Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Ryan Lucia. It's Lucia. Feel free to connect. I'm all about sharing, and then if I get annoying, you can unfollow.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm sure you won't. So, well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I always love rapping about business and ministry with other guys. Don't go anywhere because I want to keep talking, but thanks for coming on the podcast.